Okay, welcome to Public Trust Review. This is episode 15, and we're going to jump right into what we're going to be talking about today, which is some spending. So specifically, we're going to talk about the tsunami of spending and money that's flowing into the Santa Clara Council race. Specifically, we're going to be talking about or showing how the DeBartolo Corporation affiliated entities, including the 49er Football Company LLC, the 49ers, has spent over $4.1 million, while the opponents to this, the Santa Clara Police and Fire, as well as the related companies, have spent about $310,000. Again, we're going to track this over 3 different reporting periods: October 14th, 21st, and 28th. Okay, Tom, let's jump into the first.
Right. So we've been showing these slides in some of our earlier shows. And so you have the races on the left side that are being supported by the independent expenditure committees for Becker against Gilmore, for Shahal against McCulloch, for Hardy against Palekia. And on the other side, the independent expenditure committees that are supporting Gilmore against Becker, supporting McCulloch, supporting Palekia against Shahal and Hardy. And the first time that we reported on October 14th, about 3.5 million versus about 250,000, right? And the next time was on the 21st, when we went from about 3.5 million to 3.75 or so million. And on the other side, it went up $20,000 to 294. And you can see what's being spent if you look up at the Becker and for Becker against Gilmore race, right? In this case, it was about $1,860,000 or so that was being spent in that race, as opposed to 233,000 or so being spent in the other race.
About 260, it looks like, about 260 over here.
Oh, I'm sorry. My math, right?
And then here we are in the most recent reporting section right now.
Yeah, so we actually have data here that's from today. Some of it arrived today, but most of it is earlier, the 21st of October. At which point now, is that right?
No, it's 28th. Most of them are the 28th, but there are some like
now we're over $4 million in the Voting Bloc group and 310,000 in the Gilmore group. And what we now see, really for the first time, if you look up at the top race, we have about $2 million or so that's being spent in the race between Anthony Becker and Lisa Gilmore.
And that's really, we tried to capture this here where you can see the kind of imbalance, or
yes,
I mean the reality of the balance between what the 49er organization solely are spending, about $2.1 million, versus what the Gilmore independent expenditures, which are Santa Clara Police and Fire, and the related. And that's mostly related for Gilmore. There's not a lot of attack ads on theirs. It's mostly just pro Gilmore to show what she has done versus attacking others. But the thing I want to just we kind of blew over this particular slide, which shows consistently that the 49er backed independent expenditures are spending over 14 times as much, or 13 times as much as what's happening on the other side of the fence there on the Gilmore supporters.
And I think what's important here is these are legal expenditures. Independent expenditures can spend as much as they want, as long as it's not coordinated with the council members. However, from an ethics point of view, all the council people who are running and all the candidates have signed the Code of the Code of Fair Campaign Practices, which says for independent expenditure committees that the candidates should immediately and publicly repudiate support that they're getting from whatever source it's coming from that they don't agree with. And we have to really ask, when you look at something with 13 times the amount of money being spent in one rather than the other, that is something that needs to be repudiated, because the council members are supposed to do what's in the best interests of the city, not what's in the best interests of themselves or any other special interest. And it's not in the best interest of the city to spend this much money, to have this much money being spent without standing up and saying more than, gee, I wish they weren't doing this. Immediately and publicly repudiating is more than that.
Well, and I think the final thing, and then we'll close out on this, that you have this kind of money from one voice. It's one organization has put all of this energy. If you had, 30 or 40 different organizations, or 15 or 10 different organizations raising that kind of money, like in the San Jose race there, the most that any one expenditure has, I think, is $600,000 or $700,000, other than their own campaign. And when you have something that's that imbalanced, where you have just one voice yelling as loud as it can at everybody in the city, it's really distracting, and it makes it really hard to hear through all the noise. So anyway, that's what
go back to your first slide about the tsunami. This is why we're talking about a tsunami, and the picture that you had for the tsunami is really pretty good. This is Santa Clara being overwhelmed by this amount of money, and that's a real concern. It's
a real concern as well. All right, we'll sign off there. Thank you, Tom, and we will see you next time.
Have an ethical day.